Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today we are going to be doing a review of the fourth book in the series, Fortune and Swan series, which is Beautiful Nightmares. Obviously this is a non-spoiler review, and yes, I did finally finish this book in August. Are you proud of me? So I'll give you the basic premise of book one, and I'll try and give you an idea of what book 4 is about without spoiling things. Okay, so we're going to try this. Book 1 follows Fortuna Swan, and the book starts 2 years after her brother went missing. Her brother is called Damon, and she spent the last 2 years trying to find him. It's just her by herself. They no longer have their parents around, so Damon was her last family member. One evening she notices this man watching her, and he approaches her and says, I can help you locate your brother, but I need something from you, and that is to marry me. And this is obviously, you're aware that this is a dark fantasy romance series, and it has fae in it. So there's the Unseelie Court, there's the Seelie Court, there's many different creatures such as werewolves, there's vampires. In some ways, this series pulls on your typical sort of tropes that come along with like the supernatural. So you've got the fairies, the fae that are typically beautiful and, you know, beguiling and, you know, slightly arrogant and don't really treat humans like they are worth very much, you know. But in a way, I think that I like that she stayed true to what we associate with vampires and werewolves and fae. So again, with vampires, beautiful beings and that kind of thing. Fortuna is a nightmare, and she is, as far as she knows, one of the strongest and the last nightmares, other than her brother Damon, who is also a nightmare but isn't as strong. So she's the strongest one left. Because of that, people want her for things. And book 1 is the process of her, you know, finding her brother, the repercussions of finding her brother, along the way finding out more about the fae. These books are all quite, although they were released quite far apart, I think the minimum amount of time between books was like 6 months. The actual time frame of this whole thing, just from what I've been reading, is only a few months. So the space of time between book 3 and book 4, I think it's only a few weeks. There was one point in this book that I thought I was going to do a trope that I hate. If you've read it and you want to know what it is, or even if you haven't read it and you want to know what it is, then I will, like, just message me and ask me, because then I can tell you what it is. But it didn't end up doing that. But for a period of time I was just like, please Kelsey, do not do this to me, because there's not one thing in these books that I've disliked. I know that some people say that there's no character development for her, and that people don't find her a very endearing person, but I think she's a very flawed character. She essentially has human feelings. She just happens to be a nightmare, but the things that she goes through, they still have emotions, and she still makes stupid mistakes the same way any person would. I think that's kind of realistic in a way. I don't like things when they just conveniently wrap up all the time and conveniently all make sense. Some things in the storyline have progressed, and sort of like happy parts that happen, but then the overarching thing is quite dark. They do have trigger warnings in this series. If you need help with the content warnings, let me know, and I will also let you know the content warnings. If I can find them and I remember to put them in the description, I'll put the ones I can find that she's listed in the books in the description. But despite the trigger warnings and content warnings, I really enjoyed this book. But I will say, be prepared. It's a lengthy series, and every single book has got bigger. So this book was about 700 pages or just under 700 pages. No, just over 715 pages is this book. And there's 2 books left in the series. So I think what I'm going to end up having to do is, because I really did struggle at the beginning of this to remember what happened, everything that happened in the last book. It does kind of recap things for you, but not in a way that it says previously on Fortuna Swan Restless Dreams. It sort of, during conversations they'll say, oh, this character's here, or you know, she'll be trying to find out where a character is, and they'll like, oh well, this character is here. Do you know what I mean? So it's brought up in conversation. It's not like right at the beginning it's like a recap kind of thing. Does that make sense? But it did take me a while to get into that bit. I don't think for me that KJ Sutton can do any wrong in this series. There is a particular pairing that I like and that I'm currently rooting for. I don't think I should, because not one character, apart from Damon, her brother, maybe, but not one of the main characters. There's like, there ends up being 3 sort of main protagonists in this series. I feel that they're the main focus of the series. Fortuna being one of them, and then 2 others, which I don't want to name because spoilers. But I feel that the main characters, none of them are inherently good. They have the best, Fortuna has the best intentions, but I wouldn't say she's good, because again, at the end of the day, she's a nightmare. She's flawed. I wouldn't say she's like an inherently good person. She's very morally grey, but she has made some really stupid decisions, which have then snowballed and affected the rest of what happens in the story. And at times I have screamed at this book, like, don't do that, you will regret it, what are you doing? And then there's other times I'm screaming at her saying, you need to do that, why are you not doing that? And that is what I love, when I'm invested. I am wholeheartedly invested in Fortuna's journey. And when it comes to the end of the 6-book series, whenever that may be, because book 5 is on hold now as far as I'm aware, until she's back from travelling, I am going to be gutted to be leaving these characters. There is a character in the book called Finn, and if you've read it, you know why I love that character. And they are a side character. I'd call them a side character, not one of the main ones. But those characters that, even though they're a side character, he has such an impact on me as a reader. She makes you really like endeared to him. Like she makes you feel like you need to protect him at all costs. So that is all I'm gonna say on like character names. But if you've started with book 1, I think you will have met Finn. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have already met him in book 1 if you've read it. So let me know your thoughts on him, because I'm all about it, to be fair. I am all about it. I'm excited for book 5, but I'm also nervous, because this took me a while to read. Not because I wasn't enjoying it, but because the writing is super small. There's a lot of things you can easily miss if you're not paying attention. It's not just blatantly thrown in your face when something's going on. There's hints, there's sort of, you know, things that crop up that make you think. So it's a book that you really need to be paying attention to, so you can pick up those little hints. And then, yeah, also, just to go into the spice in this book. It's spicy. It's not the spiciest book I've ever read, because if we're going on like aubergine level or eggplant level if you're in America, then even though I hated the book, Den of Vipers would be 5 spice. This is probably a 4 for me. It's not like Akasuf, where the sex is ridiculous all the time. And don't get me wrong, I love Akasuf. I'm not slating Sarah J Maas at all. I love that book. But there's a lot of like sexual tension and angst and back and forth between certain characters that sort of like builds it up, so when things happen it kind of makes sense. So it's not sex is not just thrown in there to further a plot. It's not just there just because she said this is a dark fantasy romance, it's smutty, let's just throw smut in wherever just for the sake of throwing smut in. It actually makes sense to the plot, which if you do enjoy a good plot as well as good smut, then this is definitely the one for you. When it comes to world building, okay, so one thing I will mention is that Fortuna has a dream world that we spend quite a bit of time in throughout the whole of this series, and the world building in that dream world, especially in the last one, because they moved around in the dream world, I absolutely loved that. I could envision everything in my brain, and it was so good. When it comes to world building outside of that, there's not much of a world to build, if that makes any sense. So obviously you've got the Unseelie Court that she goes into, and it describes what it looks like and things. So in that case, like surroundings, the way that the surroundings are described and stuff, she gives you a very good idea of how things would look, feel and smell. So that was, to me, was just so good, because obviously it's difficult when you're trying to world build, when you're bringing things underground, because you can't talk about skies and trees and all that, and when you've got such a small area in which you're working in, because she lives in a town in America, it's not like she's travelling around the world and, you know, she's seeing all these different places and you can't describe where she's travelling to. It's not as a quest, not as a quest book. So the fact that she still grabs the fact that she's still able to grab your attention while these spaces that they're working with are quite confined, I think that is just epic writing, in my opinion. So yes, I will leave the links to this series down below. If I find out when book 5 is coming out, then I will also let you know and link it down below. But that is my review of Beautiful Nightmares. That is also my overall review of the series so far. And it's non-spoilery. That is all I can give you without spoilers. If you would like to discuss spoilers with me, if you've read up to book 4, feel free to message me and we shall discuss what happened at the end of book 4. KJ Sutton, I do not like you for this. You gave me that ending and then left me. So, yeah, definitely 100% need more KJ Sutton. She does also have other books available, which again I will leave links down below. She also has LGBTQ+ rep in this as well. So, and she does also have LGBTQ+ rep in Peter Pan smutty retelling, and I think she's got another book out as well. I think there are all LGBTQ+ rep in them. They all have that in them, I think. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, that is me done. That is my KJ Sutton trash rant. I am KJ Sutton trash and I am not mad about it. If you would like to see more reviews from me, probably shorter than this, hopefully, because I can't do reviews this long all the time, then please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know down below what you would like to see next, what you'd like to see me review. It doesn't have to be an indie book, it can be a traditionally published book. That's absolutely fine. A lot of these reviews are generally going to be self-pubbed and indie books, because I have been picking these up more and I do feel like they would benefit more from an individual review. So yeah, let me know any books you would like me to review and I'll see you all very soon.